Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and business owners. Now, we've got a very exciting programme for today. On today's show, we're going to be talking about why everyone should be exporting and how profitable it can be for your business. Joining me in the studio today is Louise Punter, CEO of Surrey Chamber of Commerce, the most active business representation and organisation in Surrey. Just right. No small build-up then, eh?
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Louise, as always, it's lovely to have you with us here on the programme, and thank you very much for joining us today. Let's just kick off for those people that don't know what the Chamber is all about, because there's going to be people watching this for the first time. They're going to say, Chamber, I've heard of them, I've seen them. Aren't they the people that do charitable things at Christmas? That's a different lot, isn't it?
Well,
what did the Chamber do?
OK, we're a very business-like organisation and we are there for business. So we have businesses as members, and what we do is help them to grow by all sorts of things. We might be opening up opportunities for them. We might be providing information that they need to make sure that, you know, they are following all the rules that they need to running a business. We may be inviting them to informational events. So we have things around access to funding, health and wellbeing in the workplace, all sorts of things that will help them to grow their business.
So really then, is it an advice-driven organisation then?
Yeah, I mean, it is advice, but actually our advice mostly comes from within our members. So it's really a connecting, facilitating organisation, because we couldn't possibly be experts in all areas, but I can assure you that within our membership we do have experts in every area. So what we try and do is match people and, you know, introduce them to the people that can help them.
I'm going to ask you, can you give an example? Because that now, all of a sudden now, he said, give us an example. You won't be able to remember anybody or anything, but is there a classic example that you've seen over the years that you've been involved with the Chamber, where the Chamber have been able to recommend one organisation to another one, the two have got together and it's gone on to big success?
I mean, I've had lots of examples where not only do we have businesses on board, but we also have universities and colleges and other organisations, which of course are businesses as well. And I've had quite a number of examples where businesses have wanted to get into those organisations, particularly university, to talk about the things that they do, and we've been able to facilitate that. The university are delighted because they want to speak to small businesses too, or medium businesses, or, you know, the local, particularly the local businesses. And so when we make that introduction, it's a win-win for everybody.
How diverse then are the range of services that you offer?
Well, in terms of our membership, we just about cover every sector. So if we're talking about what services do we offer, as I say, we're facilitating the introduction of people into other organisations. So we can help people on finance, we can help them on legal, we can help them on their marketing, on their social media, anything, you know, digital media obviously is key, as you well know.
Yep.
We can help them with their health and safety training and all sorts of other training. I mean, really, there is no end.
It's the whole gambit of business, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not actually mentioning it yet because I know we've got a lot to talk about on this, but clearly exporting is a huge area where we can introduce businesses to opportunities overseas.
And a lot of confusion around exporting and what you need to do, and it's something that you said to me before we came on air today. You said, and it's not just about exporting, is about importing as well. It's a two-way route, isn't it, that we're going to be looking at today, and also that, and it's because of that it's so important. Now, before we get onto that, What about Louise Punter? Tell me a little bit about you, because are you just one of these wonderful worldly do-gooders that's joined an organisation? Your background's business, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, and big business as well, large companies. I've worked for two multinational companies, one in packaging and the other one in business services. It was around the ISO 9000 certification, so getting businesses up to speed with their quality systems and that kind of thing. And that was truly worldwide. We had offices in 70 countries, and with the packaging as well, we had factories all over the world. So yeah, I came to the local Surrey Chambers of Commerce thinking actually that it was going to be purely local, only to find that actually, although we look after the businesses within Surrey, what we do with those businesses is help them, you know, look out of Surrey as well.
I think what I always find interesting about when I talk to you is this global perspective. Here we are, Surrey, affluent area, lots of headquarters, national, international headquarters in Surrey. If you are watching anywhere else, of course, around the country, I mean, the thing is that there's going to be a local chamber that'll be doing very similar things that Louise and her team are doing in Surrey near you. And I suppose really what we've got to say is that all the chambers, do you work collectively as well as singularly?
Yeah, we have a network in the UK of 52 chambers, and we meet regularly to make sure that what we're doing nationally sort of fits with all of our agendas. So we have the British Chambers of Commerce, which is effectively put together as a result of all the chambers getting together and deciding, you know, how they want British chambers to represent us. Having said that, the British Chambers team are, you know, well ensconced in Westminster. They know exactly the sort of things that they need to concentrate on, because they listen to us out in the various areas, and they fight the cause of business at the national level. So we have the best of all worlds. We can, you know, be very local, but also have the opportunity to get the messages up to the national government. And
who is the? I mean, what do you call the chief, the CEO of the currently of the UK Chamber?
The Director General.
Director General, yes. Sir, is
Adam Marshall.
Now, we met Adam Marshall at the aviation debate, didn't we?
We did indeed. And yes.
He's a very forthright young gentleman as well, isn't he? And he seems to have his head screwed on too.
He's incredibly good. He is so good at pulling lots and lots of different information together and making sense of it. So we couldn't have anybody better to be sitting there, you know, while all the different information about Brexit comes through. I'm sure that he will be able to help us to, you know, assimilate the information and get it out to our members to make sure that everybody's sort of up to speed as things happen.
We're all going to be assimilated, because if we do know that resistance is futile, we do know that, don't we? Listen, that's talked a little bit about the Chamber. We're talking today primarily about importing and exporting and how the Chamber can help. If there was one big mistake that you see businesses making when it comes to exporting, what is it?
Not doing it. The biggest mistake businesses make is assuming that their product or service would not be in demand overseas. And it is just absolutely critical that they consider it as part of their strategy. So it should be part of any business plan. What are we going to do about overseas markets?
What about service industries? Are they part of this? Or if you're a service industry, then it's going to be very, you're just going to stay in your country. I mean, the service industry's up for exporting as well?
Misconception. It's not quite 50-50, but I think in fact service exports are slightly higher than goods. So a service is just as much, you know, able to be exported as goods are. And
let's do a bit of clarity on service industries. When we talk about service industries, what kind of skill set are we talking about? What exports well?
Yeah, training, consultancy. And consultancy in all sorts of different areas. So speaking at overseas conferences. British speakers are, you know, highly sought after, and we do have quite a lot of people in that sort of category.
Oh, don't we?
Particularly in Surrey.
In Surrey, you can't shut them up, can we?
I didn't say that. So the training, the consultancy, I mean, things, finance, we have quite a few members who look after the finances of overseas companies. Sometimes it's because there is a negotiation or a piece of business going on across from their country to the UK, but then once the business has got involved and the a customer likes what they see, they quite often then, ask them to do work which is purely within that country.
The misconception, I suppose, is that when it comes to exporting any particular service, is that you're going to have to jump through hoops and loops to be able to do it. And I suppose the other area of exporting is how do you promote? What do you do to get the customer that you're going to export to? How do you go about promoting yourself? How do you go about marketing to that? And then you've got the technicalities of actually packaging up whatever it is and getting it there. It just seems that sometimes it can be very, very difficult. And a lot of people, I think, in their offices will have, you've got the in box, the out box, and the too difficult to do box.
Yep.
And I wonder sometimes if export sits in the too difficult to do today box.
I think there's about 10 questions there, so I'll
So
try and
in your own time.
So if it's a service, then obviously the most important thing is that you understand the market that you're going to. But that's no different to if you're selling your service in this country. You would research the market, you would look at, who the customers are likely to be, who the competitors are, what's the top sort of issue around that particular sector. So that would be no different. Do really have to understand culture, and your website needs to address culture. So it's no good just putting a website up and saying, we're open to the world, it's the World Wide Web, here we are. If you are really focusing on a particular country or a particular type of, your product, your service that you're selling, then you do need to look at your website and try to adjust it to entice those overseas customers. Going back to the second of your 12, goods, if you're actually exporting goods, then yes, there are specific things that you have to follow, specific rules, specific documentation. That's where the Chamber really comes into its own, because we are fully au fait with all of the various documentation that's needed. And that will vary country to country, sector to sector, and then it starts to sound too difficult. But it really isn't. Right,
well, hold that thought for just a moment. We've got more to come from Louise Punter in just a moment right here on this edition of Business Connections Live. It's really fascinating, isn't it, when it does come to exporting? I bet you're sitting sometimes in your office and you're saying to yourself, well, really, is there a marketplace out there for me? Is it an opportunity, perhaps, maybe to, to get my product, my service out to another country, and is it going to be extremely difficult? And of course, as Louise has already alluded to, the fact is that you've got experts just like Louise and the rest of her team who are going to be there, who are going to give you the right advice. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as the programme progresses today. If you are an exporter, please do leave your comments about how easy you found it, either on our YouTube page, on our page on the website preferably at businessconnectionslive.com, or you can tweet as well. You can leave us a tweet. There's all the details, businessconnectionslive.com. You can also tweet as well. Leave your comments on that at BCL Business TV. You can follow, of course, all the conversation with hashtag BCL Business TV. There's just too much going on there. All right, listen, we'll come back to that in just a moment. Before we talk more about exporting for your business, let's go back a week when we were talking to Penny Power, OBE. She joined us on last week's edition of the programme, and we were talking there all about the world of digital communications. Why should you be digitally connected in this digital world? She also talked about her brand new idea, which is the Business Cafe. And just to give you a bit of an insight, here's what happened on last week's edition of Business Connections Live. Why should you be digitally skilled, and what does being highly connected mean? Is it just going to be another show about social media? Well, joining me in the studio today is Penny Power, OBE, founder and CEO of the Business Cafe.
I always believed that my conversations online lead to my coffees offline. And I will do a huge amount of my connections and business development and research through the online world, following great people on Twitter that I want to be connected with, contacting them and asking for a coffee, and it's incredibly successful when I do that. As somebody once said to me what luck meant, it's location, understanding, connections and knowledge. I do all my business development on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. I love it, and I never put time aside for it. How weird is that? I network in the gaps. So I read that article, I retweet it, I follow that person, I praise them for the article, I then look them up on LinkedIn. I connect with them on LinkedIn. Little tip there, if you're using LinkedIn on a phone, you can connect with anyone. But yes, I do think we need to build up our credibility and be verified online. But what the point is that I have always believed in the offline. You have to have these conversations in order to get the coffee. You know, I really celebrate the attitude of the sole trade and the small business who has adopted these technologies. They do understand it's about connecting and having these random open conversations. I've got a business cafe group on Facebook. We've got over 400 members in it. I started it about 4 weeks ago. Phenomenal the way that they talk and chat and share and support each other, and therefore to end up doing business with each other. I'm not saying that this isn't a massive challenge. I am not underestimating for large companies what a huge challenge it is, but it starts with the CEO and the board of the organisation. Of that, and whether you're a small business or a large business, the leader of the business has to realise the benefit of him being a connected citizen. By 2020, and that used to sound years away, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
It's now 3 years away. By 2020, a third of the global workforce will be a millennial. And now, digital is a huge subject, and the government talk about it, and they have all these huge investments into digital. It's almost like a manufacturing in its own right, manufacturing code. But a small business, the 75% sole traders in the business population or the micro businesses, what does digital mean to them? Because they get up in the morning, they're not thinking about digital, they're thinking about the product or the service that they want to deliver. So actually, every business now needs to be a digital business. But the digital skills divide, the gap of those skills is vast. In fact, they're saying that the lack of skills is a £63 billion gap. 5 years ago, I created the country's first digital marketing apprenticeship. It didn't exist. I created a business called Digital Youth Academy. We invested in a big online platform and created the curriculum for young people to be able to do an apprenticeship in digital marketing. And we helped 1,000 unemployed young people into work. What we discovered through that experience is young people understand digital, and then they can adopt a digital platform really quickly because they've got no mental barriers to it, but they don't understand business. What that young person doesn't have as they're mentoring that business on that is the business context. So they don't understand cash flow, they don't understand you send an invoice and you hope it gets paid in 30 days. They don't understand business. So reverse mentoring is a young person helping an older person, but the older person is therefore helping the younger person. And so we're going to create this across, our goal at the Business Cafe is to have a business cafe on the high street in every town. Well, I've always believed in the micro business and the sole trader. That's the huge part of our business population. Around most towns there's between 10 to 15,000 businesses registered. But one of the key things for them is they're isolated, they're lonely, and it's very easy for your self-esteem to get affected. And so the core of it is the culture and the community of us as business people. Ability to network in the gaps, so I could pop in at any time. Now, I believe in Chamber of Commerce, BNI, Brad Burton's for networking. Whatever offline networking you do, I do not want to disrupt that. But I would like to give a home to those places and a sense of community and culture. Well, I am Penny Power. I'm from the Business Cafe. You can tweet me at Penny Power and get in touch with me. My big message to the world is friendship first, and in a socially connected world, really understand your value as a friend to others, and then I think your business will flow a lot better and a lot more joyfully.
Fantastic, actually. Penny Power, OBE, an absolutely brilliant show. If you get an opportunity, please do watch the programme. I think you'll find it really entertaining and also very useful. By the way, if you think the programme's great and you think, do you know, I could do that, I could be as good as that, or maybe you'd like a programme just like that one for your organisation, well, why don't you contact us here at Business Connections Live? Let me give you all the details that you need. You can drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. There you go. Or if you wish, you can give us a call. You can talk to either myself myself, Steve Highland, or to my co-director, co-founder. You may have seen her on BBC News the other week, or was it Police Watch? I don't know. 01784 256 777. She will hit me for that afterwards. I will be bruised next week. Or you can follow our stream of consciousness at BCL Business TV, and don't forget Facebook. And we're finding Facebook very, very effective for getting out to people. I was just looking actually at our Facebook feed, and it's telling me that there are something like 110,000 businesses within a 10-mile radius that we can reach out to using Facebook. And when you look at those kind of figures, we live in this mass media marketing area, and the currency is numbers, which I think is unfortunate, because I'd rather have two people spending £1 million than two people not spending £1 million. It's down to the quality of those leads. But Facebook, to give you that statistic, within 10 miles you can hit 110,000 businesses, is quite phenomenal. It just goes to say, if you're not using Facebook in your business, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not using Facebook, you really do need to be using that, because it's a terrific way. And then by transferring that and then turning that into a proper marketing campaign, then you've really got something that's going to be very, very powerful. But if you watch Penny's program, she'll explain to you how she goes about turning those contacts into customers, or as she calls it, getting a coffee. And also a technique that she uses a lot, she's called working between the gaps. So when she's got a moment, she steps back for a moment and she will do a little bit of work, be it on a train or somewhere. So business between the gaps. Great idea, really like that. Do watch the programs and do get in touch with us if you'd like a show just like this one. You're watching Business Connections Live. Lovely to have you with us on this Monday. We are live. Last week's show, as we said, we were talking about Penny. This week we're talking to Louise. Louise is talking all about exporting. Louise Punter from our local Chamber of Commerce, Surrey Chamber. Okay, let's talk properly now about exporting. We kind of got to the root of what the Chamber is all about. But when it comes to help, a lot of people probably don't go near exporting because they feel it's going to be a lonely task. They're not going to be in a position where they're going to be able to complete what they're trying to do. How much help really is there out there? And is it just the Chamber giving the help, or are there a number of organisations?
No. Well, first of all, the government has a huge objective to increase the amount of exporting that goes on to help the balance of payments. Obviously, we import more than we export, and it would be really good to increase the exports. In fact, I think it's since 1975 we have been importing more than we export. So it's been going on a long time, but actually the numbers are quite bad in the sense that we are importing quite a lot more. So the government has a real objective to increase exports, and because of that they have the Department of International Trade, which people may know as UKTI. It used to be UKTI. But the Department of International Trade has so many different ways of helping businesses. But the clue is in getting the businesses there is actually finding them sort of on the ground. So there's lots of help, but what you need is a bit of face-to-face to tell these businesses that it would be worth exporting, and then steer them towards that help. So I think that's where the Chamber really comes into it. Yes, we're one of the many helping organisations, but we're again very much sort of steering them in the direction. So you've got the government, you've got the local enterprise partnerships also putting things on, supporting export activity. We've got the UK Finance, Export Finance organisation. So if businesses are worried about getting paid and making sure that they've got the money to be able to start on an exporting path, then there's an organisation to help them. Within the chambers, we have some special arrangements with DHL, who are really keen to help exporters when they first start off, so they give them special rates to get them on track. We also work with a translation company, so they will help people with translating documents. And I have to say the list goes on. If you go online and say exporting in Surrey, there's lots and lots of things that you'll come across. Obviously, and I would say this, wouldn't I, sometimes it needs to be pulled together in some kind of more sort of consumable amount, and that's where the Chamber would be helping.
I'm just looking, actually, I just went online when you said have a look at what's happening with exporting in Surrey, and you're dead right. There is a lot of information sitting out there. If I just get rid of that, hang on, let me just get rid of that for a moment. There we go. But we can see there, International Trade, Surrey Chamber. Oh, there's a lot of Surrey Chamber of Commerce,
absolutely.
which is important, isn't it? And also a few jobs there as well. Trade Minister encourages Surrey companies to boost their exports. Lord Livingstone spent a day in Surrey meeting 3 local companies with innovative products and export ambition. Is it a case that once we start to get the taste for it, then the thing should actually start to move along with its own momentum?
Yeah, I think so. And the thing that staggered me, I think the most telling statistic, if you like, that will start people thinking about it, is that the UK market is 4% of the world market, 4%. So 96% of customers are outside of the UK.
See, you're teasing me all the time because you know desperately I want to talk about Brexit and what we're doing there. And you know, you said that we import more than we export. So we used to be the country of shopkeepers, didn't we?
Yeah.
Actually, we're now a country of customers. And anybody that would turn their back on a country of 68 million or whatever customers must be absolutely barking.
Yes, I mean the fact that we do import as much as we do means that, you know,
It does make some of this political stuff that you hear at the moment, it does sort of throw it into a cock hat, basically, doesn't it?
Well, I think
belittles it.
Yes, and I think the message is, as ever, you know, businesses have issues thrust upon them all the time. It might just be individual businesses that have a particular issue, or it might be something like, you know, what's going to be the outcome of Brexit. But businesses are, by their very nature, quite agile, and what they need to do is relook at what their strategy is, what their plans are, and adjust to fit whatever it is that's thrown at them. And that's the message that the Chamber is always playing. You know, it is about making the best with what's available, and there are huge opportunities. I mean, with the exchange rate, although not so good for some of us getting our euros for holidays, the exchange rate has made it better for exporters. Not so good if you're importing raw materials, and you know that has been an issue. But if you're exporting, our prices are looking very competitive, so there are opportunities.
So do you feel then, as the Chamber, I mean, you gave a long list a moment or so ago about the organisations and the help that is available. Before we get on to how profitable it's going to be, just what about the specific help that the Chamber gives? I mean, I know you're a conduit for organisations to talk to other organisations, but
Yes.
are there specific services that you as a Chamber, or any of the chambers naturally up and down the UK, will give to local businesses when it comes to setting up their export, or even just exploring whether they are, if this is a real word,
Yes.
exportable?
Yeah. So, well, if you go right back to basics, we do offer direct business advice. We have some clinics that we run which involve businesses coming along and talking about their product or service and how they might develop it. And obviously one of the ways they might develop it is by exporting. So number one, some direct business advice. Number two, when I mentioned earlier that we had 52 UK chambers within a network, we then have 46 chambers overseas who are part of our international network. So we have the ability to connect a business in Surrey to 46 other countries. And actually, if it was another country that isn't in that list, I'm sure we would find a way of doing it. But we have good relations with those 46. So that's about the connecting. Maybe just to bring it into something that's a little bit more tangible, we run various events, so we might focus in on a particular country, and then we will have people from that country either coming over and actually being at the event and talking about, you know, the type of businesses that they would like to see exporting into their country, or we can do it through webinars, and we've had some really successful webinars from Singapore and the States and you know, several others last year, and we'll be doing that again as we go forward next year.
I was going to ask you, where are we looking? Are we looking inside the EU, or are we looking externally from the EU? Where are the key areas for export for us at the moment, do you feel?
I'm not giving you very good answers here, because I'm going to say everywhere. but with a proviso. I think because we have this relationship with the 46 countries.
Do you mean a bit like a world trading, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, you like, yeah?
Yeah, that's good. But, you know, we're dealing very directly with Australia, South Africa, Korea, Israel, Germany. I could just list out all the countries. But
so do you think with the situation that we found with, and I don't want to go down any political route, but do you think there are still those opportunities still exist then to trade with, as individual businesses, with all the European countries, and in fact we are looking for reasons that we can't trade with them?
No. The trade with European countries will absolutely continue. It's a large part of our export. It's a large part of our imports. So obviously there are trade relations between most European countries.
Suppose people worry about things like tariffs and things like that, and there's a lot of that going on in the press at the moment. Should they be concerned about that? Or is it the fact that it's a level playing field, everybody has to get through jump the same jumps and go through the same loops?
Yeah, I mean, I think because it's trade, because it's backwards and forwards, then obviously tariffs work in both directions. I think businesses are right to think, is it going to be more expensive? Am I going to be paying directly for the product that I'm selling rather than there being a great big lump of money being paid to be part of the EU? So it may, you know, focus it in more on particular companies, but it's just another cost that businesses are constantly, we won't go down the route of all the taxes that businesses have to pay, but there are always you know, things they have to look at in terms of additional costs, and you know, I'm sure it's a concern, but there will still be a lot of trade.
Depending where you're trading to, where you're exporting to, is it one size fits all?
No, and every country will have its own requirements of the particular documentation that is needed, and that is an area where the Chamber is specifically strong. In fact, it's chambers of commerce all around the country that provide all documentation for businesses exporting overseas. So if a country specifically says they want a particular certificate of origin, which is where did the product start from, and that doesn't just mean where was it put together, it also means what country did the bits that came together to make the product, you know, where did they all come from?
Well, I remember going back, if it was high tech, wasn't there an issue, I don't know whether it's still about, but the American market or the American manufacturers, you couldn't put their components into a UK built piece and then ship it to a particular country because they felt that it was infringement of, there was IP issues and all the rest of it going on. Yeah,
I mean, there's all sorts of specific issues. I'm not sure about that actual, the detail of that, but each country that we deal with, we have a Bible which covers exactly what that country needs. So although it sounds complicated, it isn't. It's all laid down. It's really, you know, those people that are driven by process and that like things to be black and white, this is something which is fairly black and white. And so Gary Hayes, who sits in our office back in Woking, anybody rings up and says, oh, I'm thinking of exporting to Madagascar, what do I need? Usually the customer will have already told the company what they need to do, but if they come to us, we can tell them immediately. It doesn't take any great research. We go to the Bible and we'll tell them.
All right, listen, we'll come back. Hold that thought for just a moment. Sounds like it could be expensive, but is it to get that kind of advice? We'll find out in just a moment on Business Connections Live. Really fascinating. Fantastic guest today, Louise Punter. She's the CEO of the Surrey Chamber of Commerce. We're talking export financing today. We're talking about exporting, but we did talk about export financing a little while back. We had Gabriel Buck, he joined us on the programme. A really fascinating show once again. Now, there was a bloke that was really switched. I'm not saying that you're not, but he was, you know, another guy, another great guest that was really switched on. And I think the nice thing about the range of programmes, there's over 200 programmes that are sitting there. There's over 200 hours of great business advice. And Gabriel is just one of the programmes that you can watch. Now, if you watch watch his programme in association with this one. You can also maybe watch Linda's programme where you're talking about due diligence for Brexit. You can also look at some of the other export programmes, and when it comes to exporting overseas, you can look at those as well. So there's a whole gambit of different shows there that will give you free business advice that you need for your organisation to make certain that what you're about to do, be it exporting or importing, is going to be successful, and more importantly, is going to be profitable for you as well. So just to remind you what Gabriel, it was a good show. Just to remind you what Gabriel said, here's an extract from the program that we did a few months back on Business Connections Live.
My name is Gabriel Buck. I'm the Chairman and Managing Director of GKB Ventures. I'm an independent consultant looking to support SMEs in terms of their exports and their export credit growth. Exporting is, for a lot of companies, part of their DNA from day one. Do not be disheartened if you are rejected from the banks. The banking market is much more fragmented. So my key words of advice to you is: 1, pre-position. 2, make sure that the advice that you're getting fits your own particular objectives as a business. 3, make sure that your propositions are in the language that the banks understand. 4, persevere and follow through. The market is huge across the world, and for those companies that are exporting and it's part of their DNA, the successes that they get make them much stronger credits.
That was a great show, actually. How to gain access to export financing for SMEs. I'm sure that Louise can also give advice on that as well. If you need funding to grow their exports to manage payment risk against their buyers. The thing that was interesting about that particular programme was that Gabby alluded to the fact that banks are still very willing to give you money for export. The money is out there, and if the banks don't give it to you, there are other sources where you can actually get the funds that you do need for exporting. Watch the programme, real insight. He is a banker, a very senior banker, and it was great to have him on the programme. He really gave a different insight, and very keen as well to help businesses when it comes to getting the finance that they need for exporting. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have you with us today. My guest on today's programme is Louise Punter, CEO of the Surrey Chamber of Commerce. If you want to go to their website, you can find out all about the different services that they offer. Connect, Belong, Succeed. We connect over 5,000 businesses a year. You can join now the British Chamber of Commerce. You're not just joining them, you are joining the entire countrywide organisation. It is a local membership, of course. Members Christmas networking evening on the 19th of December, just 3 days after my birthday, actually. And you can see there are all sorts of different things. Let's just look at the menus as well. Chamber events, benefits, marketing opportunities, international trade, chamber initiatives, business advice, the magazine, information for new members, how they represent you and their policies, how they will lobby on your behalf, partnerships, governance, articles, and so much more. If you want to go to their website, if you want to go to the Surrey Chamber website, it's surrey-chambers.co.uk if you want to go along to there. Louisa, we've talked a lot about the services provided, and the only thing I can see there is that there is a membership. Do I get that as part of my membership, or do I pay additional for all these wonderful services? Is it, pay a bit but pay the rest later when you need it?
Well, the example I gave earlier about putting people in touch with or finding out the exact information they need for exporting, say, to a specific country, that is all part of the service.
Really?
Yes.
So and what is typical membership these days?
For a small company, £230 a year. Up to a...
It's a good lunch. Very good lunch, actually.
Oh, I'm coming for lunch with you. And a large multinational company, or a company employing more than 250 people, would be paying just over £1,000. So it's very affordable.
It's very, very affordable,
yes,
then, isn't it? So
yes.
you are getting actually from the chamber a lot for your money, aren't
Fantastic value for money.
Brilliant value for money.
However,
yes.
if we do then go down the road of documentation, that obviously is a chargeable service because we have to pay embassies for some of the forms that need the documentation that needs doing, so that it is chargeable. But the good news is that if you are a member of the chamber, it's half price. So we do have non-members that will use our documentation service but pay twice as much.
Really?
Yeah. So we're very generous on that
So
front.
it's honestly just get in touch with your chamber and find out the services that they provide, because it just seems to me that it's a bit of a no-brainer, quite frankly. If you're going to be doing any of this, you need to be doing it. How profitable do you think it can be when it comes to exporting? I mean, we've got our home market. We're selling into our existing home market. When it comes to that exporting, there's a lot of work that goes around. Is it, once you've set it up, it just keeps on going?
Well, the feedback that we get from businesses that do export is that the profit margin is higher on overseas business than it is in the home market. So there are costs to start with. I mean, if you want to go and look in a market and see what's going on, you know, maybe go on a trade mission. There are lots of opportunities to do that at low cost. The government, through the Department of International Trade, has lots of opportunities where they sponsor trips and, you know, will subsidise what our business is doing. But once you've got that all set up, it actually is more profitable, because you can command higher prices in countries where, you know, perhaps there's less availability for your product or service.
When it comes to getting that expertise or that experience, are we once again jumping through hoops and loops again to get it? I remember we were talking about business grants that were available. We did a whole programme on it. And one of the business grants, actually for this very laptop here.
Yes.
And this is the top of the range, or it was at the time. Fastest, biggest memory. It's got Go Faster stripes. It had everything on it. And the government paid half towards it. It was a sustainability grant. Now, when we talked about this after the programme, Linda, she said to me, it's going to be a book this thick that you've got to fill out. And in fact, it was a single sheet, 2 sides, and it was done in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is it like that if you want to get these kind of grants, this kind of support for your business, or is there a lot of work involved?
Well, first of all, quite often people stumble into exports. They don't create a strategy and they don't think, right, I'm going to approach this market and that market. What happens is they get an inquiry from overseas, say from Madagascar. Let's go back to that example.
You really want to go there,
I
don't
know.
you?
I want to tell you that...
If anybody's watching that knows anybody, any businesses in Madagascar that are watching this, please would you send an airline ticket to Louise Punter?
Well, there are satellite parts being exported to Madagascar even as we speak.
From Surrey?
From Surrey.
And you haven't got a ticket?
Yes.
You're
Not
doing
yet,
something
not
very
yet.
wrong. That's all right.
But the thing is, people, you know, so they fall into export rather than this plan. So that's where we get this phone call, which is, oh, I've got this order and, you know, I'm not quite sure what we need to do. And could you steer me in the right direction? And I don't want to oversimplify it, but actually, as long as you know what you're sending and where you're sending it and how it was come to be put together, and you know the origin of the product and the components, then we can sort you out with the right paperwork and, you know, make sure that it all goes very smoothly.
It's very interesting because one of the team here, Ralston, he's actually just texted a question. The question that's gone from him, from the studio to the gallery and back again. How do you resolve the issue of getting paid? That must be a big worry from overseas territories. What are the processes that you go through, and how can the chamber help on that? I know you can't, you know, send the boys over to sort them out, but how do you ensure that you do get payment? Because it does feel that when it leaves the country, it's different jurisdiction, it's different law, different courts. How do you go about making certain you get paid?
Well, the way that we help is to make sure that they are working with their bank or with, we mentioned you export finance earlier, making sure that the contract and the payment details are all in place up front. And certainly with export finance, quite a lot will be guaranteed, you know, in advance. So it's about putting things in place beforehand.
Do you find businesses rush in very quickly sometimes without putting down the proper work?
So we'll have exporters who've perhaps done a couple of orders without realising that there are things that it would be better for them to do. And then when they get a further order, they realise, actually, I do need to look into this a little bit more, particularly because they may end up with their goods stuck in customs because they haven't got the right paperwork paperwork. So that there is that happens, but really it is quite hard to embark on a lot of countries without actually doing the work first.
And is there a way that you've come across where you can factor invoices for overseas in the same way as you can factor in the UK?
That is available. I mean, when I was showing you the long list of all the different people that are working,
there to do that.
Yeah, there's huge support on that.
All right then. We've talked a lot about the exporting, and we've now talked about how we get the money in. But what are the kind of services that you've seen which have proved to be successful?
Okay, so some examples of products that have been sent over and products and services. So I mentioned my satellite party. Won't go there again.
No.
Biscuits to the Maldives, ice cream truck to the Faroe Islands. Medical supplies out to Syria through the World Health Organization. And two of our members, those are all members actually that have been using our services, but two organisations which I think are a really good sort of balance with each other. One is producing ladders, or I think they're a bit posher than ladders, but equipment.
Posh ladders
to get up to the engine of a large aircraft. Those are being exported from the middle of Woking all over the world. So that's a really good example of,
that's
something
isn't
really
it? When you think about it, you think
bulky.
Yeah, big and bulky, but it's a ladder.
Yeah, well, it's stairs,
It's
maybe a set of stairs.
A set of stairs,
you can
I'll have you
imagine
know.
what goes up to an aeroplane. And the second one is telesales. So this is not a product at all. This is
telesales as a service.
As a service. So it's where an American company might ask this particular company, Perfect Pitch, who are based in
We
Godalming.
know Perfect Pitch.
You do. I think one of
It won the programme.
Yes,
yeah, one of the big viewed programmes. They use actors, don't they, to do the telephone calls.
Yes.
And really successful. If you want more details, you can find their programme on the website at businessconnectionslive.com.
Excellent. Always like to give our members a little push.
Very good.
Perfect Pitch. So they can be doing calling in the UK when the Americans are asleep, and then be feeding back with, whatever information they've gleaned, or if they're trying to make appointments for somebody coming over. They've actually gone and done calls within a country as well. So they do quite a lot of work in Italy, I believe. So they will be, making the calls on behalf of an Italian company. And not only do they have actors, they have linguistic actors as well who can speak a number of languages.
Which comes in handy if you're calling people in Italy, doesn't it, I suppose?
Absolutely.
But I can see that. Yeah. But yet the whole thing has been done from the UK.
Not necessarily. So both ways. They could do it from the UK, or they can go over and make the calls within the countries as well.
So that's the success stories where we're going there. So we can see that there are services, and it seems to be what you're saying is that regardless of what your organisation, your business is doing, it can be very, very diverse. What's required overseas. So it could be anything from linguistic services to consultancy services to hardware and software.
Yeah.
It could be absolutely anything. What do you do when it all goes wrong? How do you manage that? What about things like arbitration when it comes to, when you're talking to somebody, you're trying to resolve an issue that's come up out the blue? What do you do then, and who can you turn to? Can you turn to the Chamber for help?
Well, back to our expert membership, as we started on that road. We do have members who are legal providers or solicitors who specialise in overseas contracts, who specialise and have offices overseas. So again, it would be part of what we would do is match them up and give them help as soon as possible. And we have had calls where there's been some goods stuck in docks and it's been a legal issue, and we have passed them on to one of our members who has managed to resolve the issue and get the goods moved.
So really it's a good
story.
Starting point, isn't it?
Yes.
If you've got something like that going on within your business, start by talking to the Chamber.
Yes.
Listen, more about the Chamber in just a few moments' time. Hope you're enjoying today's programme. Absolutely fascinating. My guest on today's show is Louise Punter. You can go to their website. This is the Surrey Chamber. Is there a UK national website for all the chambers?
Yeah, the British Chambers of Commerce.
British Chambers of Commerce. We'll get that site up in just a few moments' time. We've still got more to come on this edition of Business Connections Live. Really finding it really fascinating and interesting. I'm sitting here thinking, is there anything that I can export? Because you're making it sound like it's straightforward. It's very There's a whole list there's a list been already made, I think, as we've been talking.
I mean, you have huge expertise in video making and filming and
love you.
Media.
And media.
Media training. You could do that overseas, absolutely. We need to talk.
It's got to be done then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Somewhere sunny, I hope. All right then. Yeah. Now, if you're enjoying today's programme and you're thinking to yourself, actually, we can't claim any benefit at all or any credit for the way Louise is been performing today, because every question has been answered clearly. She's been able to get the message of the chamber over succinctly and clearly. I mean, there can be very few people who will be listening or watching the programme at the moment and think to themselves, I'm not quite sure what the chamber can offer me. I think we're very, very clear on that. But if somebody was to approach you with a microphone or a camera, would you be in a similar situation? Would you be able to succinctly get the message of your business over? Or would you be thrown for a moment? Would you be umming and ahhing? If you were being interviewed and somebody asked you a difficult question about your organisation, would you be able to, I hesitate at using the word manipulate, but would you be able to control the interview to your advantage? We've all seen it on the TV over the time, haven't we, where the interview has gone horribly wrong. I was watching an interview with Nick Clegg the other day, which really did fall completely to pieces while the interview was going on. It was handled badly. The interviewer was taking control. Nick Clegg lost control during the interview. Now, he is a skilled communicator. There's no two ways about it. So if, as a skilled communicator, if he too can sometimes find himself in that situation, how would you find yourself? Well, we've put together a one-day workshop where we invite companies to come in and to get that training that you needed to at least give you a start on the road to performing better in front of the camera and in front of the microphone. It's our one-day media workshop. You come into the studio, up to 6 people, normally from one company, but we can actually spread it around different companies. They come in and we take you through what it's like to be interviewed on the TV, what it's like to be part of a radio phone-in, and also what it's like to do an on-location recording. We explain to you what's going on in the studio. It's a fascinating day. And it is turnkey. Each individual person who is interviewed, the questions are tailored for them. We take your own press releases, in fact, and we turn those into questions. And we push you a bit. We see if we can make you go off the mark a little bit, if we can make you make up policy on the hoof. And once you start doing that, then we rip you to pieces, but then we build you back up again. It is a fascinating day. It's also a very educational day, and probably more importantly, it's a fun day as well. You learn a lot about yourself, and you'll learn a lot about how your business operates. And sometimes it can show glaring examples within your media strategy of things you hadn't even thought about. We had a company called Iris Day come on. James Griffin, he brought his team on the programme. Iris are a software manufacturer. They're also the people who own Fastbooks. I think it is. And they came on the programme. It's a really great day. Here's what James said about the training course.
I'm James Griffin from Iris Software, and my team have just completed the How to Handle the Media workshop. It was a really great course, it was really fun, and it was a really unique way for them to polish their presentation skills and learn how to answer difficult questions under pressure. So I'd highly recommend this to anybody that values those skills and really wants a great day out with their team.
It was just a fascinating day, and he found it a fascinating day too. He came back afterwards and he said how useful his team had found it, and they found themselves in a situation later on where all those skills were used in the business environment, and it proved to be a very worthwhile day. Now, if you'd like details about this, all you've got to do is go along to our website. Here is the address, and drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. If you want, you can also give us a ring on 01784 256 777. Don't forget, follow our stream of consciousness at BCL Business TV on Twitter, and don't forget Facebook as well for that matter. Of course, there are 200 hours worth of programming, all available for small to medium scale enterprises. If you are an entrepreneur and you want to find out how you should be funding your business, starting your business, marketing your business, how the Chamber can help you, and so on and so forth, then go to businessconnectionslive.com. Incidentally, we are available on a number of different platforms. We're available obviously on the likes of YouTube and Facebook. We're also on Roku, we're on Blueberry. Something that really would be a big help to us on iTunes. Go to your iTunes account and leave us a review. If you don't know how to do that, just watch this and I'll explain all to you. Come on, get your fingers together. Here we go. You can view the programme in iTunes. Just click on that link there. Thank you very much. That's going to take you to this page where you can leave ratings and reviews. This is really helpful for us. Click on that. For instance, if you want to leave a review about this programme, say how invaluable the information was that Louise Punter was giving you on the programme, and give Louise 5 stars. Tell us how great the programme was, and then that will allow iTunes to recommend it to other businesses and entrepreneurs who go on to iTunes to get their podcasts each and every week. And I cannot believe how many people download this program. It is in the thousands who will download this program on an ongoing basis. And each month, more and more people are downloading the program, and those reviews are really important to us. So if you like the shows, let us know. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is the CEO from the Surrey Chamber of Commerce. It is Louise Punter. Louise, just a few final bits and pieces that we need to go through. Don't forget you're doing a little bit at the end as well. Is there any preferences to the countries? Are there no-go areas out there where if we were thinking about exporting, we shouldn't be?
That's a really difficult question, because I would say there are countries that people assume would be difficult. Nigeria is one.
That was in my head, actually.
Yeah, Nigeria is always mentioned, and yet there are some fantastic opportunities in Nigeria. And again, it's back to the planning, making sure that you've got everything in place, and then going ahead. We've had Nigerian delegations come over and, you know, provide fantastic information about how they're looking for British providers of all sorts of different products and services over there.
But it must be frightening to think about it, mustn't it?
Yeah, and people
I'm dealing with Nigeria. I don't ever expect to get paid.
Yeah, but things have changed hugely, and there's a lot of support. I think the Bank of Nigeria is quite a big sponsor of international trade, and so obviously it's quite in their interest to make sure that the bank is seen as, you know, very squeaky clean.
Apparently, I'm related to somebody in their treasury.
Really?
And there's $1 million US sitting in a bank account.
Yes,
that is all mine, as long as I just send all my banking details to him.
Yeah, I've had several of those. I get at least, well, actually, they have died down recently.
They have,
so
actually,
maybe things are improving. So, yeah, I would say it's much more important about what products or services does that country have an interest in, than, you know, what country should I go to. So the best thing, we have a number of tools where you can plug in a particular service that you provide or product that you provide, and then that will come up with where that is, you know, where there's a demand for it. And in fact, I should mention the UK government Britain is Great website. I think it's Britain is Great. I'm pretty sure if you type that in, it will come up.
I'm doing that right now as we speak.
And there are real opportunities on that website. So when I looked on Sunday, yesterday, there were over 1,000 opportunities from all around the world, and it's quite interesting to look at the sort of things that are put on there as being in demand.
Here, I found the web. I hope it is the right website. So is this the right set? Suffolk is great. I don't think it is the right website, but
I think you've got into Suffolk there.
No.
Actually, it could. Yeah, you could have just gone into.
What's Ben Fogle doing on the programme all of a sudden? He'll want money for that now. Okay, so there we are.
But yes, if you go on to the export, I'm pretty sure it is Britain is Great. But export is great.
Interestingly, when you put in Britain is Great, you do get quite a few. So you've got Britain, Great Britain in campaign, Britain is Great, which is the one I went to, New Digital Service to Help Business, Great Business, Great. You see, there's
And Export Britain is the British Chamber's website, which has lots of country information but doesn't have specific opportunities. So I think the combination of the two is really good.
So is Export Britain. At least I think I found something that's proper. There we go.
Yeah.
There we are.
There you are. That's the British Chambers, and that will also show where the local chamber is within the UK, who can help people on export.
Very good indeed. So we've said that what we're looking at is that we're looking at higher sales. We're looking at the opportunity to make some additional money. The examples that you've given show that it's a real diverse range of products, goods and services that we can offer the different countries that are out there. If you were starting today, does it matter on the size of your business or your organisation? Is it everything from a one-man band right up to the multinationals that can take advantage of this?
Yeah, I mean, the multinationals, they would still absolutely need documentation and that kind of service, but they tend to have a lot of people that can do research and decide which markets to go to. So we would have less call from them, but certainly documentation is for everybody. Sole traders, I have loads of examples of, just speakers that go overseas. They've been discovered, and this is the wonders of online, they've been seen on YouTube speaking on a particular topic, and somebody has called them and said, oh, we'd like you to come and speak for us, and the person says, oh yeah, that's great, where is it? Bulgaria or Korea, or all sorts of different places where first class travel, accommodation plus quite nice payments are made. I'm waiting for my call.
I tell you what, Louise is actually available for speaking gigs. Where would you like to go?
We're not going back to Madagascar.
Yes. Now, okay, so we've been through all of that. We talked a little bit. I should have really asked the question then. You kind of alluded to Nigeria that being a bit of a bad reputation, but it's okay.
Set a preconception.
Where's the best countries for us to export to? Is it still the European bloc, the EU as such? But what about the old Commonwealth? Is it Australia, New Zealand, South Africa even? Are these the countries where there's a real opportunity?
You've answered my question.
Have I?
You've asked and answered. No, I think the language the language issue is one that people do grapple with. So yes, Australia, New Zealand and South Africa are really good ones to start with, and we have really good relationships with those chambers over there. We've had them visit our offices. South Africa, specifically interested in training companies. So I did pass that on to a couple of training companies, and I'm waiting to hear how that has transpired. But they had a specific need. America still,
really, still America.
The Americans still see the British people and products as high quality and want to do business with us. We do a huge amount of export to America.
And I think people just forget that, don't they? That I think what's been lovely about today is that you've reminded us that as a nation, we are a nation that exports and we import as well. And there's a number of things out there that would like to export that we can't go into right now, or maybe just give away, perhaps. Louise, it's been a real insight today. If people want to get in touch with you to find out more, or to find out the rest of the services, where should they go? If they're in Surrey, they can go directly to the Surrey Chamber, can't they?
They can, yes.
So straight to your website there. Just bring up the Surrey Chamber website again. Is there anything or anybody they have to talk to in particular, or is it just as a general inquiry when they go along there, and you'll talk them through the process? Yeah,
I mean, if they were going to call us, I would suggest they spoke to Gary Hayes, who's our International Trade Manager. But they can ring on the main number. But of course, everybody else will do as much as they can to help and, make sure that we get back to any inquirers.
Excellent. And if it's across the UK, is it the same applies? Find your local chamber, have a word with them, and then that should actually allow you to get the same information that's specific to your area.
Yes, I mean, going on to Export Britain, which is the British Chamber's international trade website, and then it will list all of the local chambers.
All right, we'll
That's
just go
probably the
back on
best
there
place
again.
to direct them. Yeah.
So there we go. And what's interesting about this as well, we've got export services available, expert documentation, export training, export events and missions, export publications. There's a lot of information on there at the moment. And you can see that as a national organisation, they are giving the advice that you need. It shows you the market snapshot that you've got down here.
Yep.
So featured countries, now this is interesting, Chile, Hungary, Indonesia, Nigeria, Romania, Nepal, China, India, Morocco, Poland, South Korea, Vietnam, to name just a few. Also where the find support is on the site too, as you can see here, find support in the UK,
And that's all the
find in the accredited chamber
Yep.
offering export. Do all the chambers offer it, or is it just some of them?
No, all of the chambers will offer.
And we can see a complete list of all the chambers that are there. And this is what I find fascinating about the website as well, that you've actually got, so this is the support overseas.
Yep, those are the chambers overseas.
So do you go to them as well? So you find your UK support, and is it worth then finding out what's available in the appropriate country?
I mean, it might be better to come through the chamber, but they can, you know, contact them directly as well, and with a sort of warm feeling that they know their local chamber, or they're
like an introduction, nearly.
Yes, yes.
Listen, it's been a real insight. I hope you found it useful today. We always invite our guests, Louise, to do the little key takeaways, the bit that everybody hates at the end of the programme, but it's the key takeaways of what we need to remember. And obviously it's, you know, contacting you and the key benefits as well that are really important. We always invite you to do it straight down camera number 1. So who you are and where you're from, and the airwaves, Louise, are all yours.
Hello, I'm Louise Punter, CEO of Surrey Chambers of Commerce. We support businesses all across Surrey to grow and do business, and particularly we've been talking about helping them to go overseas. Don't forget that 96% of customers are outside of the UK, so there's a huge opportunity for any business to export overseas. And if you want more information, either call us on 01483 735 540 or go to our website www.surrey-chambers.co.uk. We look forward to hearing from you.
So there we are, that's Louise Punter, and she looks forward to hearing from you. If you are a local business that's in the Surrey area, contact them. If you're not, then you can find out more about the exporting opportunities that are available for your organisation by simply going to Export Britain, which will show you everything that you need to know for all the regional chambers that are up and down the UK. Hope you found today's show useful. It's the kind of information that everybody needs, and I think a lot of the time we all live in our little bubble, don't we? We all look at maybe local markets. We concentrate, maybe I was saying earlier on, within a 10-mile radius of where we are at the moment. There are 110,000 businesses that we can target if we were to use Facebook to do that. That's what they're telling us. But here, what the Chamber is saying, that not only do you have 110,000 local businesses, actually what you've got is you've got millions of businesses on a global scale that you can also now be considering to be potential customers as well. And they are there to help you make that process as simple and as easy as possible, and to get you through those hoops and loops that you need to jump through when it comes to making certain that you get the whole process correct. Start doing it properly at the very beginning, then it's just going to be a lot easier. And we've really covered everything all the way through, from finance to the kind of services that are required overseas. Listen, if you are thinking of exporting for your business, the very best of luck, and don't forget, use your local chamber if you possibly can to get the relevant information that you need to make certain that your exporting strategy is going to be an absolute success. Louise Punter, thank you very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the programme today. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, there you go. That wraps up another show today. Before we leave you, let's just go through the housekeeping to make certain that we've got everything. What we've got lined up for you in the next couple of weeks, well, it all gets very exciting because Christmas is just around the corner. Next week's show is our Christmas party. You're coming?
I am indeed,
God
yes.
love you. It's our Christmas party special where we go around all our guests and we ask them to say the same thing again, but a lot shorter and quicker. We've got a lot of guests here. It starts at midday next Monday, the 19th of December, with an assortment. An assortment, how nice. A gaggle of previous guests on the programme, but future programmes we've got coming up: Sylvia Baldock, Deborah Humes. Sylvia Baldock, all about brand. Deborah Hume, she talked neuroscience last time, but she is very, very very experienced in HR and human resources. She's worked for a number of multinational blue chip organisations, and she will bring that expertise to the programme. Ali Crump from A Drive Tech is going to be joining us. We're talking all about company cars there, and also how to control your fleet on the road. Polly Buckland from the Typeface Group, and it comes to the brochures and the written word. Jackie Jarvis is going to be joining us. James Potter, the LinkedIn man. A lot of people now using LinkedIn to do their first tier of marketing. When we were talking last week to Penny, she was talking about the way that she does truly get involved with people on LinkedIn and on Twitter and on Facebook, and how she then turns that into a coffee, which then leads to business. And she's very successful at that. It's something that all of us can do for our own business. So we look more at how LinkedIn can be used when it comes to marketing your business. And Tom Evans, the author of Practical Mindfulness, is going to be joining us as well on the programme as well. It's always written here, and I never read it out, but I'm going to this week. Sponsorship is available. If you'd like to sponsor the programme, you can have it completely branded for your organisation, for your business. Now, if you are sending a newsletter out each and every month or bi-monthly, and what you're trying to do with that newsletter is you're trying to attract people to come to your website, wouldn't it be better to turn the readers into viewers and have a new piece of content on your website each and every week? You could do that. Talk to us here at Business Connections Live. It could be this programme or a derivative of this programme that you can put onto your website to drive new audience. Remember, we live in a world where the currency are numbers. If you want footfall to your site, talk to us. I'll give you the details. There it is, 01784 256 777. That's our number. It must be time now. Oh, an email. All right, I'll do that. studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Can we roll those credits? Because Louise is hungry and she wants to get out of here. We've got a £250 lunch to go to, I can tell you right now. Till we do it all again next week, thank you very much indeed for your company. But from all the team here, have an absolutely fantastic week. And remember, get exporting because you'll make more money. Have a great week. Bye for now. Bye-bye.